we're going to demonstrate now two physical assist transfer using a pivot frame full sling hoist from the bed to a mobile commode. It is going to be a tilt in space mobile commode. First things first is we always check the environment to make sure the brakes are on and ensure that the resident consumer is compliant. We'll assume the position for rolling in bed, and the pusher always does the work to push to roll, while the person receiving will hold and support to allow the other person to position the sling. We'll grab the sling, make sure that we always position the inside against the resident. The outside of the sling always goes obviously on the outside. The key point of reference will be the arch of the leg straps. If it's too high, it'll feel like the consumer's falling out of the sling and too much pressure on the thighs. If it's too low, it will get soiled too often with toileting. Once in the right position, the top of a general purpose sling with head support should reach the top of the head. Tuck in any excess sling underneath the resident or consumer. Make sure we reposition in order to roll to the opposite direction, using hands to support positioning rather than any grabbing. And always asking the client or consumer to assist where possible to complete the physical task. Once again, we'll ask the consumer to look the way that they're going to roll. The pusher applies the force, keeping the lordosis in their back, and completes the movement. We'll unravel the sling so it's nice and flat without any creases where possible, and then we'll position the sling over the top of the resident or consumer, trying to make sure it's nice and smooth. Once again, the key positioning is the arch of the leg straps to the top of the bottom crease. We'll hold the sling in position as we roll the resident or consumer onto their back once again, making sure that they feel supported and reassured throughout the procedure. To tuck the leg straps, we'll make sure we bring the leg strap over our hand, depressing into the mattress or surface to get a nice smooth fit underneath the consumer's thighs, bringing the strap through, and on a pivot frame sling, we'll make sure that both leg straps come out between the consumer's legs, making sure it's nice and smooth where possible to reduce any friction or pressure on the back of the consumer's thighs once they're in the hoist position. We'll make sure we adjust our bed to match the position of the sling where possible. In this case, we'll raise the head of the bed to make it easier to attach the shoulders first. We'll always attach the shoulders first, followed by the leg straps. And as we put the pivot frame keyhole connectors on, we should hear an audible click. We'll then make sure we attach the leg positions, the keyhole clips on the pivot frame leg connectors, and we'll always check our own clips, and we'll cross-check our partners, and vice versa, to ensure that everything's safe before we raise the boom to transfer our consumer. You'll note that the consumer is asked to cross their hands across their chest rather than to hold onto the pivot frame. Key reason being there is some pinch points around the clips, and we don't want to cause any unnecessary injuries towards our consumers or clients. Once we've cleared the origin, being the bed in this case, we can raise the boom a little bit more and adjust the positioning of our client into a semi-reclined or seated position, making sure that as we take the client off the bed, we're supporting the client's legs and minimizing any swing or rotation when we're maneuvering the mechanical lifting equipment. Mechanical lifting equipment is for transferring only, not transporting. So we'll do the minimum movement with a loaded mechanical transfer device, and we'll bring the unloaded wheeled device in to make sure we can transfer the client into that. Removing any foot plates or any objects that might be in the road to inhibit our safe transfer of the resident, we'll make sure we bring the wheeled device in this case it's a tilt in space mobile commode, so we'll use that posterior tilt to assist the client's positioning into the chair. Gravity will help us. We'll make sure that the brakes are locked on the mobile commode, but you'll note that the brakes are not on the mechanical lifting device to allow for some last minute positioning over the aperture of the mobile commode. The connectors will come off and you'll feel the audible click, and you'll feel the click as you remove the keyholes from the pivot frame. Make sure you use the tilt function to take the pressure off the straps before removing. Once all the connectors are out, we'll make sure we hold the boom to prevent unnecessary injuries and remove the hoist away from the client. The task now becomes removing the sling from underneath the client in the mobile commode in this instance. We'll use the posterior tilt function, the person in front assisting the resident's legs up into hip flexion and adduction where possible, to allow the other assistant to remove the leg straps from underneath the thigh. This allows a lot of working room and minimises any frictional tears or risk of injuries on the client in the mobile commode. Once the leg straps are removed, we have the option of fitting the foot plates back onto the mobile commode to support the lower limbs of the client or the resident. From this position, we'll use our equipment to tilt forward, and using gravity to assist, plus some physical assist from behind, we'll lean the consumer or the resident forward, which will provide access for your assistant to remove the sling from behind the resident or consumer. Return the consumer to their original position, resting for the equipment and the task that you're there to complete. Make sure that the client is comfortable, and the task is then completed under a safe transfer. In this case, we'll posteriorly tilt the mobile commode to assist with some poor postural stability.